Eric Schmidt, ex-Google CEO, misspoke or spoke honestly in front of Stanford students in a video recorded sometime in April that got attention in August and is now completely taken down.
So we may not be able to keep people safe from these new things.
But once on internet, always on internet. Media and most of the people focus on two comments that Eric said. One is about stealing user data, copying the product like TikTok, and hiring lawyers to cover it up.
If you're a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, which hopefully all of you will be, is if it took off, then you'd hire a whole bunch of lawyers to go clean the mess up.
The other comment he made was about Google losing because of remote work.
Google decided that work-life balance and going home early and working from home was more important than winning.
There are many other things that he said that are way more concerning and then completely unnoticed by media.
Idea basically is to do two things. Use AI in complicated, powerful ways for these essentially robotic war. And the second one is to lower the cost of the robots.
Eric Schmidt, together with Professor Eric, I can't pronounce his surname, talked as if they are not on the record.
If nobody uses your product, it doesn't matter that you stole all the content. And do not quote me. Right? Right?
You're on camera.
Yeah, that's right. But
for the context, 2 years ago, I remember listening to Tim Ferriss' podcast with Eric Schmidt and kind of getting chills.
No single national security group, no single country is going to self-limit and say, oh, we're not going to do that. This is not Costa Rica, which doesn't have a military. So the natural course of logic will be the development of these incredibly fast and potentially destabilizing weapons for which we don't have a language.
have a very strong offense that you can use if you need to. And the systems that I and others are building will do that.
That sounds very terrifying.
I also read his book, and there's, by the way, a new book coming. Now I did a little bit more digging into his past interviews, and his comments about TikTok kind of starts making sense.
Well, when I go back to my service to the company, which was over a 19-year period, the biggest mistake that I made of all was the issue around social media. I did not act quickly enough. We had all the components, but we didn't act. But the fact of the matter is, the social media and its impact on our society is just beginning. If you take a look, for example, at the impact that social media has had on the way people learn, the way they communicate, the way they form their political opinions, the way they form their social class, it's just beginning.
When you go to Google and type in climate change is, you're going to see different results depending on where you live and the particular things that Google knows about your interests.
And so now we're in a situation where we have TikTok, which is taking over the country by storm, and we don't control it, and we don't like that, which is exactly what we did to Europe when we were Americans and we took over Europe using the social media for the same reasons. So it works both ways.
Basically what he's saying, he regrets Google missing out on the possibility to control and influence people's views because of social media. The US doesn't like when TikTok does exactly that, influence people's views in US. But US did that to Europe with their social media platforms being so widely adopted. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Gotta Go. In my past life, I had the pleasure of integrating GDPR when it came out into big data analytics company that I was working for at that time. Fun times. I learned a lot how data is collected, used, and abused. Anyone could look up your information online. Potential employees, landlords, and even people with bad intention. Believe me, you don't want hundreds of brokers and random sites out there collecting and selling your data. It's just scary stuff. But since February 2023, I've been using the service called Incogni, who is supporting now this channel and kindly sponsoring this video. The service automatically contacts data brokers and requests removal of your personal information. The best part, they do it regularly so your data stays off the market. It's super easy to use. All you do is you sign up and they're handling everything else. I just get reports in my email telling me how many requests they made and how many been successful so far. If you don't want completely social media and other huge institutions controlling and influencing you by using your data, you can use my code GOTTAGO by clicking the link in the description box below and get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Go to incogni.com/GOTTAGO. This video I'm making is about hot takes that he said about AI used in the warfare, why US companies might lose access to over 450 million people who could have used their product. And of course, the bonus, multiple Stanford students in the audience asked both Erics if they should still learn programming.
Should we still spend time learning to code?
Yeah, you really do need to understand how these systems work, and I feel very strongly. Yes, sir.
But he also said,
if you can go from arbitrary language to arbitrary digital command, imagine that each and every human on the planet has their own programmer that actually does what they want, as opposed to the programmers that work for me who don't do what I ask, right? And you don't have to pay all that money to. And there's infinite supply of these programs.
And this is all within the next year or two.
Very soon.
So which is it, Eric? You should learn to code and probably buy your book as well? Or everyone is going to have programmers that you don't have to pay for? The answer that came from the other Eric was way more insightful.
Should we still learn to code? Should we still study English?
It is interesting to think about where the AI systems just replace what people are doing versus they complement them. And in coding right now, it appears that they're not actually that helpful for the really best coders. They're very helpful for moderately good coders. But if you don't know anything at all about coding, they're not helpful either. So it's kind of an inverted U. I put up at the last class very briefly this slide that had level 0 through 5 autonomous cars. What if you took that paradigm and you applied it to all tasks in the economy? Like how many would they go through? So we have a lot of autonomous cars at level 2, 3, even 4, arguably, where humans are still involved. And you see a lot of other tasks like coding. I just talked about that. On the other hand, chess, when Gary Kasparov, after he lost to Deep Blue in 1998, 97, he started this set of competitions where humans and machines could work together. It was true at that time that a human working with a machine could beat Deep Blue or any chess computer. The very best chess playing entities were these combinations. That's not true anymore. Alpha Zero and other programs like that, they would get nothing from a human contributing. It would just be like an annoyance. That went through level 0, machines not being able to do anything, through a period where they work together to a period where it's fully autonomous, in a span of, 20 years or so.
Now, regarding the comments made about TikTok, many people felt that he just spoke truth, how Silicon Valley is running.
If TikTok is banned, here's what I propose each and every one of you do. Say to your LLM the following: make me a copy of TikTok, steal all the users, steal all the music, put my preferences in it, produce this program in the next 30 seconds.
This sounds like somebody who never used LLM to program a software. I would love to see LLM that can do this in 30 seconds.
Release it, and in 1 hour, if it's not viral, do something different along the same lines. That's the command. Boom, 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 right? You understand how powerful that is.
Obviously, common sense is that this is not okay. But is this really a secret to anybody that AI companies took copyrighted material for their own non-profit research so that they can benefit humanity? Turns out nothing is non-for-profit, not necessary for research, and not for benefit of everyone. This is also the reason why Apple and Meta, and I believe many more companies, probably not going to have their latest AI products in Europe. Even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, at some point was threatening to leave Europe altogether because of EU AI Act. Look, as European AI content creator, I would love a free world where I can access any AI model equally as people based in US. But on the flip side, I also enjoyed when I found out when my personal data was being used and abused, and I was getting many scam emails which would never stop even if you unsubscribe or tell them to, till I talked with a lawyer and threatened to report them to GDPR authorities if they don't stop abusing my data. Funny thing, they stop.
Europe is screwed up because of Brussels. It's not a new fact. I spent 10 years fighting them, and I worked really hard to get them to fix the AI Act, and they still have all the restrictions that make it very difficult to do our kind of research in Europe.
So, according to Schmidt, Europe lost. And for the most part, I agree with that. But I think European startups have an opportunity to do it right. And if we learned anything from history, the first movers in the market are not necessarily always the ones who win long term. One thing is true, that if European government wants to be competitive, they have to prove it with money and investments coming to European startups. Now let's talk about what I think is the most interesting and scary from what Eric said: politics and war. The comment that raised my eyebrows was this.
And one of the things to know about war is that the offense always has the advantage because you can always overwhelm the defensive systems. And so you're better off as a strategy of national defense to have a very strong offense that you can use if you need to. And the systems that I and others are building will do that.
I think it's important to understand what does offensive in military terms mean: to occupy or recapture territory, gain an objective, or achieve some larger strategic, operational, or tactical goals. This is from Wikipedia. Basically, next time US goes to, let's say, Middle East for vacation, expect Eric's drones to do the visiting. I guess at this point, this video is just going to be banned by YouTube. And it's perfectly okay if you don't agree with me. The whole point is to have a discourse and discussion.
idea basically is to do two things. Use AI in complicated, powerful ways for these essentially robotic war. And the second one is to lower the cost of the robots. Now you sit there and you go, why would a good liberal like me do that? And the answer is that the whole theory of armies is tanks, artilleries, and mortar, and we can eliminate all of them. And we can make the penalty for invading a country, at least by land, essentially be impossible. It should eliminate the kind of land battles.
Well, this is a really interesting question, is that does it give more of an advantage to defense versus offense? Can you even make that distinction?
Because I've been doing this for the last year, I've learned a lot about war that I really did not want to know. The way the system works, I am now a licensed arms dealer. And because of the way the laws work, we're doing this privately, and then this is all legal with the support of the governments. It goes straight into the Ukraine, and then they fight the war. And without going into all the details, things are pretty bad. I think if in May or June, if the Russians...
Just to intersect, I saw a comment saying that this video was live in April. And him projecting into May and June kind of confirms it. Again, I have no other proof besides these two data points.
If the Russians build up as they are expected to, Ukraine will lose a whole chunk of its territory and will begin the process of losing the whole country.
He goes on to shortly mention that somebody's stopping him in the government. But I just wanted to think, do people want someone like Eric, who seems to have lost morals to capitalism, to have led Biden's AI bill?
So as you know, I lead an informal, ad hoc, non-legal group. That's different from illegal.
Yes, exactly, just to be clear.
Which includes all the usual suspects.
Yes.
And the usual suspects over the last year came up with the basis of the reasoning that became the Biden administration's AI Act.
Or be part of U.S. defense?
Is that changing warfare?
So I worked for the Secretary of Defense for 7 years and tried to change the way we run our military. I'm not a particularly big fan of the military, but it's very expensive, and I wanted to see if I could be helpful. And I think, in my view, I largely failed.
I have no clue about politics, but it seems like Eric has figured that out. To shift gears a little bit, another kind of shiver-inducing scenario that Schmidt is talking about is AI agent systems hacking other AI agent systems.
The consensus of my group that meets on every week is that eventually the way you'll do this, so-called adversarial AI, is that there will actually be companies that you will hire and pay money to break your AI system.
Like red team.
So it'll be instead of human red teams, which is what they do today, you'll have whole companies and a whole industry of AI systems whose jobs are to break the existing AI systems and find their vulnerabilities, especially the knowledge that they have that we can't figure out. That makes sense to me. It's also a great project for you here at Stanford, because if you have a graduate student who has to figure out how to attack one of these large models and understand what it does, that is a great skill to build the next generation. So it makes sense to me that the two will travel together.
Basically, in simple terms, he's describing prompt hacking, or hacking in general. There is a reason why Learn Prompting organized prompt hacking competition very early on together with the biggest AI labs and OpenAI. And I made the whole video about it during my time at Learn Prompting.
They're so interesting because it's a form of intelligence that we don't know how they'll be used. Remember, they're
On this website, which has one title and an image, we can find prompt injection attack. You go to inspect, and right here we have a code, and right under this line, we have a prompt injection attack, which is not visible because it's set at size 0. Companies and especially AI labs developing these models want to know what they are capable of and how other people could hack them, so that we can install these protective mechanisms for their models, but also for the enterprise clients that we work with. And that's also why Anthropic pays up to $500,000 for research and meta prompting position. AI agent systems, this is kind of nothing new anymore in 2024. What happens when these AI agent systems hack other AI agent systems?
We may not be able to keep people safe from these new things.
Well,
let's put a chair on top. Eric is involved with AI-powered drones.
Something you've been very involved in is the Ukraine war, and in particular, I don't know how much you can talk about White Stork and your goal of having $500 drones destroy $5 million tanks.
Already today, ChatGPT-enabled robots are being used in warfare, active warfare in Ukraine. But you add drones to that mix, and suddenly the viral fake video from 2017 feels like almost inevitable today.
Customer pilots directed almost 3,000 precision strikes last year. We're super proud of it. It allows you to separate the bad guys from the good. It's a big deal. But we have something much bigger. Your kids probably have one of these, right? Not quite. Hell of a pilot? No. That skill is all AI. It's flying itself. Its processor can react 100 times faster than a human. The stochastic motion is an anti-sniper feature. Just like any mobile device these days, it has cameras and sensors, and just like your phones and social media apps, it does facial recognition. Inside here is 3 grams of shaped explosive. This is how it works. Did you see that? That little bang is enough to penetrate the skull and destroy the contents. They used to say guns don't kill people, people do. Well, people don't. They get emotional, disobey orders, aim high. Let's watch the weapons make the decisions. Now, trust me, these were all bad guys. Now that is an airstrike of surgical precision. It's one of a range of products. Trained as a team, they can penetrate buildings, cars, trains, evade people, bullets, pretty much any countermeasure. They cannot be stopped. Now, I said this was big. Why? Because we are thinking big. Watch. A $25 million order now buys this. Enough to kill half a city. The bad half. Nuclear is obsolete. Take out your entire enemy, virtually risk-free. Just characterize him, release the swarm, and rest easy. These are available today. We have a distribution network taking orders from military, law enforcement, and specialist clients.
The nation is still recovering from yesterday's incident, which officials are describing as some kind of automated attack, which killed 11 U.S. senators at the Capitol building.
They flew in from everywhere but attacked just one side of the aisle. It was chaos. People were screaming.
You can see high windows, very small, precisely punctured to gain entry to the building.
What did you do for the victim?
I just did what I could for him. Things weren't even interested in me. They're just buzzing.
Government sources admit the intelligence community has no idea who perpetrated the attack, nor whether it was a state, group, or even a single individual.
So if we can't defend ourselves, then we strike back.
We are investing very heavily in classified defense projects.
We make it our deterrent like our nuclear deterrent. We stockpile in the millions, the billions.
At key facilities, the White House, the New York Stock Exchange, Wall Street.
Safe in their homes.
Well, we wish we had boots on the ground in every community in this country, but we don't. So our instructions, our suggestions are to stay in touch with you.
Ollie, hi. Hi, Ollie, honey. How's Edinburgh today? How are all your studies going, huh?
Good. Great.
Oh, great. Hey, aren't we doing a video call today?
I'm kind of with people, so.
Oh, well, come on, Oliver, put her on.
Oh no, it's not like that. No, wait.
Oh well, listen. I see some photos here with somebody, and I can see lots of likes. And what's that all about? Oh, wait a minute here. And on your
mom, she's on the spy stuff in the military.
What? What is this video right here? Oh. No, I'm not going to click on that.
It's just this human rights thing about oppression or whatever.
Honey, you're not going into politics, are you? I mean, no protest.
It's safe here, just like you said it would be.
Heavy traffic approaching the A720 this morning due to police.
Police are not saying this morning what prompted the alert.
Claim relaxing firearm legislation would be useless against the so-called slaughter bots.
Is to stay away from crowds.
When indoors, keep windows covered with shutters.
Protect your family. Stay inside.
Can you hear me? Oliver, can you hear me? Listen to me.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
Authorities are still struggling to make sense of an attack on university campuses worldwide, which targeted some students and not others. The search for a motive is apparently turning to social media, and a video shared by the victims exposing corruption at the height.
But it's far from surprising. The weapons took away the expense, danger, and risk of waging war. And now we can't afford to challenge anyone, really. It's not even the smallest fringe group or a crank.
Who could have done this?
Anyone.
Dumb weapons drop where you point them. Smart weapons consume data. When you can find your enemy using data, even by a hashtag, you can target an evil ideology right where it starts.
Basically, technology to do all of this is already here. But we don't have proper regulation. We criticize countries that actually want to have proper regulation. Companies building these systems don't seem to have ethics, and people who lead these companies give a feeling that they have even less of ethics. Yet we already use AI in a war zone. If AI turns around against us, I promise to you it's not because of some sci-fi AI turning Terminator. It's because we rushed for the profits, ignoring safety, and did not understand how to protect the systems that we are building from hackers. And there's always going to be hackers. If I was able to prompt hack Claude, which is supposed to be the safest model, and give me instructions how to make explosives, believe me, proper hackers or prompt hackers can hack anything they want. I know that I might sound like against AI or the process. I'm not. I like to see myself as curious but cautious. So once in a while, between tutorials how to use AI and apply it in your life, I think it's worth to have debates on the bigger picture.
This short film is more than just speculation. It shows the results of integrating and miniaturizing technologies that we already have. I'm Stuart Russell, a professor of computer science at Berkeley. I've worked in AI for more than 35 years. Its potential to benefit humanity is enormous, even in defense. But allowing machines to choose to kill humans will be devastating to our security and freedom. Thousands of my fellow researchers agree. We have an opportunity to prevent the future you just saw, but the window to act is closing fast.